When you're going through a divorce and you're hurting, and if you're left behind and you didn't want this, how do you let go of blame and how do you not get angry and bitter?
Did you push record?
Thanks so much for joining us today on Our Second Act with Paige and Silka.
For your second act of life. Hey, Silka.
Hello, Paige. Paige, today I would like to return our conversation to several viewer questions actually that have been coming in that I've been noticing. In this particular instance, a woman's question, could you please do a segment on moving on after divorce? Especially if you were the one that's left. In researching and preparing myself for my talk with you today, as I usually do, I found an interesting article. I think there was some good information. I wanted to get your input because I know you deal with this all the time with your clients. And one of the first things that they say, and it's probably one of the hardest to do, especially if you're just now going through this where it's very raw, is to let go of blame and bitterness. Do you agree?
Well, that's one of many things to do. And it is, first of all, it's just hard to let go, period. And then if you're the one that's left and you didn't want the divorce, there's such a plethora of emotions that go on. So, how do you let go of blame and how do you not get angry and bitter? Well, I think many of our viewers have heard me say this. You have to feel it first. It really is okay because you can't let go of something until you identify what you're letting go of. And you can't let go of something until you've really felt it to the depths to be able to say to let go. Because if you say, all right, I'm going to let go, I'm fine, I guarantee you it's going to come back and snap you in the ass because you have to be able to feel it first and then be able to let go of it.
So how do you let go? Do you obviously seeing a therapist, but what else can you do?
So, of course, seeing a therapist, processing everything that's gone on, because of course it's not just the divorce, it's everything that's gone on up into the divorce, right? So there's a lot of journaling that you'll do. You might have lots of pictures around the house, right? Things that remind you of this person. You really have to kind of temper yourself and go, having those pictures, having those things around, should I keep them close to me? Should I put them aside? Should I throw them out right away? The first thing that you can probably do is just kind of put them in a garage bag and stick them in a closet for a while if that helps you go through the process. Or maybe you're someone who says, I want to see all the pictures so I can get pissed and be pissed and feel it all so I can let go of it. So it's really different, and the therapist is going to be the one to really help you identify what to do and what the steps are going to be, because each person coming to this is different.
Yeah, I think that the takeaway is obviously as you're first going through it, you have, like you say, you have to feel it. I think the key is don't hold on to bitterness because eventually it's just going to hurt you, and it's just going to hurt you.
Well, hold on, look at one more thing, because I thought of what you just said is so many people will sometimes say, well, I'm not angry, I'm not bitter. So they haven't even been able to identify what they're feeling or what's going on inside of them. That's why it's really important to identify what is happening with you, because you're going to be possibly all over the map. Or maybe this divorce was so angry building up to the divorce that you clearly know that you're angry and you're going to be like, well, screw you. I'm going to hold on to my anger and I'm going to be bitter and this is the way it's going to be. So F you. Okay. So you might need to feel that for a lot longer than someone else, right? So everybody, again, is going to be at a different stage with their emotions, with their feelings, and being able to identify or wanting to be staying in that space, because sometimes anger can help you move through something, but you can't hold on to it. And the bitterness sometimes can help you be motivated to do something, but you can't hold on to it.
Yeah, that's great point. That's why we have you commenting on this page. And I'm not laughing about this. This is such a hard topic. Hopefully we're giving you some advice that will hit home. Here's another point. Accept what you can and cannot control.
That's in life in general, right? So we all have to try and do that. And again, when you're going through a divorce and you're hurting, and if you're left behind and you didn't want this, you're really not going to be able to accept it as clearly and really embrace it all at the same time right away because you're grieving. You didn't want this. And sometimes you're holding on and you're making promises and you're making compromises that are compromising yourself. Like that's a big thing that goes on with accepting. Well, I'm not going to accept this yet because I need to be able to do this, this, and this. And if I do these things, maybe he or she will stay. So there's this bargaining chip that goes on within yourself where you will actually sacrifice the well-being of yourself in many ways. So somebody won't leave. So that kind of goes on a lot.
Yeah. So it is accepting reality then, seeing reality clearly and seeing what is actually going on. Very, very, very difficult to do.
Yeah.
Uh, Another point, reframe your thinking about what has happened because so many of us believe, as I did, the marriage was a failure.
So I have a different take than
Okay.
most people on this. So I don't believe in failures. I just, that's not the way that I live my life or I, coach people to live their life. I believe in soul contracts that, our souls are with each other for a reason, a season, a lifetime, a moment, because you're supposed to learn something from that other person, as painful as it might be, as hurtful as you might feel. There's some kind of message, there's some type of lesson, there's some type of learning process that's going on. And maybe the learning process is just all about accepting,
Hmm.
feeling your emotions, learning to let go, learning to realize you can't control everything, and trusting that whatever is happening for your highest good. Because we fight really hard the process of the whole process of divorce and what's happening instead of going, okay, this is happening for a reason. I might not know what the reasons are right now, but I know it's okay to feel them. It's okay to have all the emotions that I have. Maybe I'm not ready to embrace it all yet. Maybe I'm not ready to let go of control, but that could be some goals for
Yeah.
me. So I know I said a couple of different things, in that one piece.
Yeah, it's again very hard to do, and looking at it as a failure, something that I had to overcome. And actually, you were someone that reframed that, thus to the point, reframe your thinking. It is. We've learned something. Accept it, and as I've said lots of times, second act wouldn't be here if I didn't have that marriage.
Exactly. And we have to remember that every experience in our life builds upon the next, upon the next, upon the next. So, and here's another thing. If you weren't married, okay, you would it still be in multiple relationships with someone and have breakups. And for whatever reason, society's terms is that's okay.
Hmm.
But the divorce thing, what the hell is the difference? Okay. So really take a look at the whole big picture that you're trying to live, and not you specifically, Silko, but anybody is trying to live under what human rules are, what society rules are. And I say, live under your own soulful rules of what your journey is here and what hopefully you'll be learning from this experience.
Yeah, exactly. Great, again, great point. And well, it is. It just takes me back to
Sure
what
does.
I went through and what so many other women and men are going through. This is, yes, the question was posed by a woman, but oh yeah, the men go through this as well, and obviously this all applies. Get to know yourself again.
Hmm.
Another really, really key point, going from the we to I.
Well, I'm always a big person about always getting to know yourself, which Silka, and I say this a lot. But I'd like to bring in the reframing piece that you talked about with this. How fortunate can you be that something in your life has now maybe forced yourself to really look at who are you, what didn't work for you, what maybe you want to shift and change about yourself, and hey, maybe you didn't get to do X, Y, and Z in that marriage that now you have freedom to do. And start to look at the word freedom. What does freedom look like? What does it taste like? What's it smell like? What is it, think of all the senses of what freedom can look like for you instead of, oh my God, I'm going to be by myself. I'm over 50 and this can't be good. Who says? Society, like I said, you see a theme here. Don't be listening to that. Start to look at the adventures inside of yourself and how you can create yourself in a new way, a different way, still keep some things that worked, but now there's more freedom to potentially jump into the number one person that needs to right now, and that's you.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and that kind of leads to the other 2 points they make, which I thought was really interesting. I have not heard the term "climb the fear ladder." Maybe I'm
Uh,
sure you have. And
it
then,
was all different terms. They just rechanged the term, renamed the term.
but it is addressing fears. We're going to do a whole segment on that as well. And then seek out adventure, which you just referenced. So, in closing out this segment, we have about 3 minutes or so left. Let's talk about that. How do you really move on and get that new mindset for a new existence?
Well, it's if you're the one that's left and you didn't want this, it's going to take you longer. It's a whole different ballgame if you're the one who wanted the divorce because you're like ready to hop in and take the adventures.
Yeah.
But since we're focusing on the ones who've been left behind, it really is a process. And the process is, identify how you're feeling, sit in it, it's okay. Kind of be with yourself and kind of look at what happened in this marriage and what was my part and what worked for me, what didn't work for me. What did I have to compromise about myself that, damn it, I'm not going to do that again? Because maybe you were afraid of really being who you are or who you were. And then, and let me bring in climbing that fear ladder. You're climbing that fear ladder of, okay, what's the scariest part now that you are by yourself and this other person is not there? So identify what are some of your fears of what scares you. And when you bring up the elephant in the room about the fears and you start to really talk about it and put it down on paper, it loses its strength and it loses its power. And then after you write down the fears, on the other side, I want you to write down freedom. What freedoms do you have now that you didn't have before? And it's okay if it feels like it's a small list because I promise you that list will grow. And then you can also write a list of ventures. What adventures or things did you not do when you were married that now you have the time, the freedom, the capacity, whatever, to step in and do them?
Yeah, exactly. There is something good that comes out of it, and it's just the hardest thing to see as you're going through it, that this can ever
Yeah.
get better. Well, in closing, Paige, what can you we tell someone that is just feeling this and is just devastated and doesn't know how to move on? Any last pieces of advice?
I think we gave suggestions on what to do. And one thing that I want to add is you're not a failure because there really is no such thing as that, right? These are all, when we live here in this world, it's about experiences. You might feel like your self-esteem is really low, like what's wrong with me, right? What's wrong with me that I can't be loved? And that's a red flag within yourself to say, well, do you even love yourself? Because that's what needs to come first. So you have to loop back around to don't try and like be in that place of I'm a failure, there's something wrong with me. There's nothing wrong with you. Sometimes when soul contracts are done, they're done, and then you have to have the process of picking yourself up. And when, not if, and when you pick yourself up, and when you step into, wow, the person who you are now, because you have a lot more experience, imagine what can be ahead of yourself versus what happened behind yourself. And stay present with where you are and be gentle with yourself, embrace yourself, and love yourself because there's nothing wrong with you.
I love that. Paige, thank you. I hope that there were some snippets here that hit home, that help. We'd love to hear more of your comments, more of your suggestions on topics and issues that you'd like us to cover. And Paige, we'll see you next time on Our Second Act with Paige and Silka.
For your second active life.
Bye-bye. If you haven't already done so, please be sure to subscribe to our channel. The button is right here. And when you see the little bell right next to the subscribe button, hit that too, and we'll notify you every time we launch a new video. See you next time.